What's going on, my crew? This is Rusty, and welcome to another episode, a little bit different episode, of Rusty Builds. In today's episode, we're actually going to be doing a progress report rather than an episode, which is kind of disappointing, but you guys will understand here in just a second. So this week, basically, I started on working out a build idea for the Fletcher that we have in our new town. And I was doing some research and found that aspen trees were one of the trees that people used to make the arrow shafts out of. But when I started looking up aspen trees, ash, and birch, I found that a lot of aspen trees that came up in Google were yellow. And I thought it'd be cool to start doing a build with, yellow trees and reds and some red and basically make a fall theme. Well, a week later, and I've basically really honed my tree making skills. These are not them, don't worry. But in the end, I still don't have the build. So I'm giving you guys a progress report because I don't want to give you guys a full episode that's not interesting. Better for me to give quality rather than quantity. So let's kind of go through the process of what I've been doing, because I think that this episode will be useful. So, first of all, my building series eventually is going to get to making custom trees, but naturally, I kind of need to know how to make custom trees before I start teaching it. So, that's been far down the line, but eventually, when I get a lot better, I'm planning on making a good tutorial for it. But, essentially, I started off with this, the aspen trees. They have birch type wood for the aspen tree bark. And so I started with that, and then I started, working in a couple yellow textures, and I was kind of like, So I asked some people that I knew, and they said, you need more air. And so I tried to create more air with the glass by adding in glass textures here. And this one didn't look terrible. But obviously it's not looking like a tree, especially if we're walking through this like a forest. It certainly doesn't feel tree-ish. So then I came over here and I really went big on the air idea. And so here we've got contrasting branches with this darker birch color. And I don't actually hate this tree. This tree is kind of good, but it needs more. It needs more, oomph to it. And this is where I really liked this idea pretty well. So here I did sort of a crooked trunk. And here, because aspen trees grow in a lot of clusters, I built this like this. And this is where it gets a little bit difficult because they start to kind of lose that uniqueness at the top versus in the middle. And I still need to do some research on it because I don't know, maybe because there's no sunlight coming down in, I should get rid of these inner branches. So gonna have to do a little bit more research. Then I spent some time actually, and I'll put his channel in the description, with Skizzy. So Skizzy was kind enough to sit down with me on a creative server together and help me create some of these trees. So after I had made these, I got some feedback from him saying that I needed more volume in the tree, and I was kind of trying to figure out what that meant. And so I created this really quick, and it didn't seem to fit. But after we met, I started to get some ideas. We really actually worked out a lot of really cool ideas for the build itself, as far as how things are going to be. I'm just trimming these up because I know I can use shears, but I want to show you guys the example of how this tree is going to be. And so what we came up with was something like this a little bit. And we'll get to a better version of that over there here soon. But using a lot of this coral for actual vegetation, because if the leaves are yellow, likely the forest is going to be a bit yellow. And then here I tried the same 3 branching sort of deal with this sort of new way of doing things, and found that there was, once again, not enough air. So we kind of went back, reverted to this not enough air. You guys can see I'm using diorite for branches. Finally, I really dug deep, started looking at the shape of the tree. And here is probably, in my opinion, the best version of this tree so far. And what we've got going on here is a lot of, really a lot. And I think it's actually too big and tall in a lot of ways. Next time I make one, I'm probably going to go a little bit tighter, maybe. But it's hard to gauge. So what I used for a starting picture on this one is I used a picture looking up at the sky and seeing, you know, from my perspective as a person, what am I going to be looking at? Right here is sort of where my vantage point is. What am I going to be looking at? And unfortunately, you can't create a lot of air when you're doing this because, as I've said before, when we did this building episode, leaves are kind of like a micro block, or a single block depth is what I mean. They give you air in between. So a lot of this here looks a little bit chaotic, but it's actually not, because what I did, and this was actually really easy, is I pulled out a bunch of these branches, these diorite branches, and what I want to do in the future is I want to replace the diorite with oak or spruce fences wall. Okay, nice. So I wanted to see what this looked like, because I like the contrast actually better than the diorite wall in a lot of ways. And it actually gives us a little bit more air. Yeah, here we are in shaders. And this looks absolutely fantastic. And I really love it. And I think the cool thing about this is we can actually see, you know, some places where I've done it really well, you can see the sun through things. So definitely very happy with the product so far, and probably need to use a little bit more glass and some fences, I think is the next stage. But I need to make a whole bunch more of these. Practice, practice, practice. And practice does not make perfect, guys. You need to have the technique down. So if I just practice all these trees over and over again, it's not going to do anything. I have to keep improving and keep moving towards where I am now. So next time when I do another tree, the purpose of practicing that tree is going to be to do something different, to change it up, to try and make a better tree, and a different tree. Because not all trees are perfect, and sometimes we're going to need to make bigger ones and smaller ones and all sorts of stuff. And then the clustered ones, that's going to be another challenge. I need to make a clustered tree and try and make it look distinct, but also together. So at any rate, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed. And if you did, make sure to leave a like on it for me. It helps me out a lot. And if you're interested in watching the actual build taking progress and you feel that I've earned it, then consider hitting that subscribe button. But until next time, guys, happy mining and crafting.